The alien ship floated in the darkness between stars, its engines cold and its lights flickering like the last breaths of a candle. Do-hyun had picked up the distress signal 3 hours ago, and he had debated ignoring it. Salvagers like him did not survive by being heroes. They survived by being smart. But something in the signal's pattern had felt wrong. Not wrong like a trap. Wrong like a goodbye. He docked his ship, the Wanderer, against the dying vessel and made his way through the airlock. The merchant was a Vorani, a species that looked like tall, thin birds with scales instead of feathers. This one was old. Very old. His scales had turned gray, and his breathing came in short, painful gasps. Human, the Vorani whispered when he saw Do-hyun. His translator device crackled with static. I knew one would come. Your kind always comes. Do-hyun knelt beside him. Save your strength. I can get you to a medical station. The Vorani made a sound that might have been a laugh. My strength left me years ago. I have been running on borrowed time. He reached out with a trembling hand and pressed a small data chip into Do-hyun's palm. Take this. I spent my whole life searching for what is on this chip. I found it too late. But you are young. You are human. What is it? Coordinates. To a planet called EO7. The surveys say there is nothing there. They are wrong. The merchant's eyes, golden and ancient, locked onto Do-hyun's. What sleeps there has waited long enough. Those were his last words. Do-hyun buried the merchant according to Vorani custom, sending his body into the nearest star. Then he returned to the Wanderer and sat in the pilot's chair, turning the data chip over in his fingers. Bora, he said. The ship's eye responded immediately. Her voice was calm and slightly amused, the way Do-hyun had programmed her to be. Yes, Captain. What do you know about EOS-7? There was a pause as Bora searched her databases. EOS-7 is an uncharted planet in Sector 9 Delta. It was surveyed by automated probes approximately 300 years ago. The survey classified it as a Class D world. No atmosphere worth mentioning. No resources worth mining. No life worth studying. It was marked as of no interest and forgotten. That's a lot of no worth for one planet. Indeed. However, I should note that Sector 9 Delta is rarely visited. The trade routes avoid it. There are easier paths through the galaxy. Do-hyun plugged the data chip into the navigation console. The coordinates appeared on the screen, pointing directly at EOS-7. The old merchant spent his whole life looking for this place, Do-hyun said quietly. He died trying to reach it. And his last words were that something is waiting there. That does sound ominous, Bora said. It also sounds like every trap in the history of traps, I know. The smart thing to do would be to sell these coordinates to the collective and let them send an official expedition. I know. You are going to ignore me and fly there anyway, are you not? Do-hyun smiled. Set a course for EOS-7. The journey took 12 days. Do-hyun spent the time doing what he always did between jobs. He repaired parts of the ship that were breaking. He exercised to keep his body strong. And he read old books that humans had brought from Earth centuries ago. The Wanderer was not a pretty ship. It was old and patched together from parts of a dozen different vessels. But it was his, and it worked. On the 12th day, EO7 appeared on his view screen. The planet was brown and gray, covered in dust and rock. No oceans, no forests, no signs of life at all. Just an endless desert under a pale yellow sun. Scans confirmed the original survey, Bora reported. No life signs. No energy signatures. No signs of habitation. Then why did that merchant spend his life looking for this place? Perhaps he was wrong. Perhaps he was mad. Old age can do strange things to any species. Do-hyun shook his head. No, there was something in his eyes. He believed. He knew. He brought the Wanderer down through the thin atmosphere. The ship shook as it passed through clouds of dust that had not been disturbed in centuries. When they broke through to the surface, Do-hyun saw nothing but empty wasteland in every direction. He landed near a mountain range and climbed out of the ship. The wind hit him immediately. It was cold and dry, carrying dust that scraped against his helmet. He activated his scanner and began walking. For hours, he found nothing. Just rocks, just sand, just silence. Then the scanner beeped. Do-hyun stopped. The reading made no sense. According to the device, there was something massive directly below him. Something buried under kilometers of dust and stone. He climbed to higher ground to get a better view. And then he saw it. The top of a structure, just barely visible above the dust, like the tip of an iceberg rising from a frozen sea. It was black, darker than any stone Do-hyun had ever seen. And it was huge. As he watched, he realized that what he had thought was a mountain was actually part of the structure. The entire mountain range was not natural at all. It was a fortress. "Bora," he breathed. "Are you seeing this? I am attempting to scan the structure. However, my instruments are failing. I cannot get clear readings. The material is unlike anything in my database." Do-hyun began walking toward the exposed section of the fortress. The wind grew stronger, as if trying to push him back. The dust swirled around him like angry ghosts. But he kept walking. It took him 2 hours to reach the fortress walls. Up close, the black material was smooth as glass, but somehow warm to the touch. He pressed his hand against it and felt a faint vibration, like a heartbeat. He followed the wall until he found something that stopped him cold. Doors. They were massive. Each one was at least 50 meters tall and carved with symbols that Do-hyun did not recognize. They did not match any known language in the galaxy. They did not match any known civilization at all. "These symbols," Bora said, her voice uncertain for the first time, "they are older than any recorded history. Older than the collective. Older than any of the 12 species. Do-hyun, this structure may be millions of years old." Do-hyun stepped closer to the doors. As he did, the symbols began to glow. Faintly at first, then brighter. The light was golden, warm, and somehow welcoming. And then the doors began to open. The sound was like thunder. After millions of years of silence, the ancient mechanisms groaned to life. Dust fell like rain. The ground shook beneath Do-hyun's feet. But he did not run. He stood his ground and watched as the doors opened wide, revealing darkness beyond. His scanner beeped again. This time, it had found something new. Deep within the fortress, there was an energy signature. Something was still alive in there. Something was still working. "Do-hyun," Bora said urgently, "I strongly advise caution. We do not know what is inside." "No," Do-hyun agreed. "We don't." He took a deep breath, pulled out his flashlight, and stepped through the doors. Behind him, the wind continued to howl. But inside the fortress, there was only silence. Silence that had lasted for ages. Silence that was now, finally, broken. Whatever was waiting in this place had waited for millions of years. It had watched civilizations rise and fall. It had ignored the passage of time itself. And now, at last, someone had come. A human had come. The doors closed behind him with a final heavy boom. And deep within the fortress, something that had been sleeping for longer than the stars began to wake. As Do-hyun walked forward, lights began to appear along the walls. They were soft and golden, glowing like distant stars. They seemed to follow him, turning on as he approached and fading behind him as he passed. It was as if the building itself was watching him and lighting his way. The corridor was enormous. The ceiling stretched so high above that Do-hyun could barely see it. The walls were covered in carvings and paintings that told stories he could not understand. Strange beings doing strange things in strange places. Worlds being built. Worlds being destroyed. And through it all, one symbol repeated again and again. A circle with a flame inside it. "Bora, are you receiving my feed?" he asked. Static answered him. Then, faintly, Bora's voice broke through. "Signal weak. The walls blocking transmission. Stay with me as long as you can." He continued walking. The corridor twisted and turned in ways that should not have been possible. Sometimes the floor became the ceiling. Sometimes gravity pulled him sideways instead of down. Do-hyun had traveled to many strange places in his life, but nothing had prepared him for this. After what felt like hours, he reached the chamber. It was vast beyond imagining. The walls curved upward into a dome that seemed to contain actual stars. Not lights that looked like stars. Real stars. Do-hyun could see nebulas swirling between them, galaxies spinning in the distance. He was standing inside a room that contained the universe. In the center of the chamber stood a pillar of light, and floating within that light was something that looked like a face. It was made of golden energy, shifting and changing, neither male nor female, neither old nor young. "You have come," the face said. Its voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. "After so long, you have finally come." Do-hyun's hand moved to the weapon on his hip. "What are you?" "I am the Keeper. I was created to wait, to watch, to test those who find this place." The face tilted, studying him. "You are human." "Yes, interesting. Your species is young, the youngest in this galaxy. And yet here you stand, where so many older species could not." "What do you mean?" The Keeper's light pulsed gently. "You are not the first to find this fortress human. Over the ages, many have come. The Varani came. The Traken came. Every species that now sits on the collective council has sent explorers to this place. All were turned away. All were judged unworthy. Do-hyun. Unworthy of what? Of the inheritance." Before the Keeper could explain more, a sound echoed through the chamber. Footsteps. Someone else was inside the fortress. Do-hyun spun around, his weapon drawn. A figure emerged from the shadows. She was human, dressed in the uniform of the Collective Science Division. Her hair was tied back, and her eyes were sharp with intelligence and anger. "Put that away," she snapped. "I am not your enemy. Who are you?" "My name is Yuna. I am a xenarchaeologist with the Collective. I have been tracking legends of this place for 3 years." She looked around the chamber with wonder in her eyes. "And you are a salvager who stumbled onto the greatest discovery in history." "I did not stumble. I was given coordinates." "By whom?" "A dying Varani merchant." Yuna's expression softened slightly. "The Varani have stories about this place. They call it the First House, the home of the gods who came before." She stepped forward, ignoring Do-hyun completely, and stared up at the Keeper. "You are an artificial intelligence created by the architects." The Keeper inclined its head. "That is one name for my creators. They had many names. In the end, they called themselves simply the Builders." "The Builders." Yuna pulled out a recording device. "This is incredible. The architects, the builders, whatever we call them, they are the oldest mystery in the galaxy. Every civilization has found traces of their work. Empty structures, broken machines. But no one has ever found anything like this. Something that still works. I work because I was made to last," the Keeper said. "I was made to wait for the worthy ones." Do-hyun stepped between Yuna and the pillar of light. You said other species were turned away. Why? They failed the trials. What trials? The keeper was about to answer when suddenly the chamber shook. Red light flooded the room. A sound like screaming metal filled the air. Defense systems activated, the keeper announced calmly. Non-worthy entity detected. Una stumbled backward as something emerged from the walls. Drones. Hundreds of them. They were small and fast, made of the same black material as the fortress. Their eyes glowed red with deadly purpose. They flew toward Una. Wait. Do-hyun shouted. She is human. She is with me. The drones stopped. They hovered in the air, scanning Una with beams of light. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, they backed away. She carries technology that is not human, the keeper explained. The fortress reacted to the threat. But she herself is human. She may stay. Una was shaking. Her collective-issued scanner had been melted into slag by the drone attack. What just happened? You almost died, Do-hyun said. He turned back to the keeper. Why does the fortress accept humans? We are the youngest species. We have the least advanced technology. By every measure, we should be the least worthy. The keeper's face shifted, and for a moment, Do-hyun could have sworn it was smiling. You speak of technology as if it matters. It does not. The builders had technology beyond anything this galaxy has seen since. They could reshape stars. They could create life from nothing. They could bend time itself to their will. Then why did they leave? Una asked. Because technology is not the same as wisdom. The builders grew too powerful too quickly. They began to stagnate, to decay. They saw what they were becoming, and they made a choice. They would leave this galaxy and seek new challenges beyond. But they could not bear to let everything they had built disappear. The keeper's light grew brighter, so they created places like this. Hidden fortresses filled with their knowledge and their tools. They left us, the keepers, to wait and watch. To test any species that might find these places and judge if they were worthy of inheriting what the builders left behind. And what makes a species worthy? Do-hyun asked. Not intelligence. Many species are intelligent. Not strength. Many species are strong. Not technology. Technology can be learned. The keeper paused. The builders called it the flame, the fire that refuses to die, the spirit that pushes forward no matter how hard the universe pushes back, the will to face the impossible and say, not today. Una laughed bitterly. And you think humans have that? We do not think. We know. We have watched your species for centuries. You came from a small planet on the edge of the galaxy. You had no special gifts, no natural advantages. The universe gave you nothing. And yet, you spread across the stars anyway. When you faced extinction, you survived. When you faced war, you endured. When every calculation said you should fail, you refused. The keeper looked directly at Do-hyun. Other species reach a point where they accept that some things cannot be done. Humans never reach that point. You simply refuse to believe it exists. The chamber fell silent. Do-hyun thought about his life. About all the times he should have given up. About all the times he had kept going anyway. The trials, he said quietly. You mentioned trials. Yes. To claim the inheritance, you must prove yourself worthy. 3 trials that will test everything you are. Many have tried. All have failed. The keeper's face grew serious. But I look at you, human. I look at both of you. And for the first time in a million years, I have hope. Una stepped forward. What happens if we pass? Then, everything the builders left behind becomes yours. Their knowledge. Their technology. Their legacy. You will carry the flame forward into a future even we could not imagine. And if we fail? The keeper did not answer. It did not need to. Do-hyun looked at Yuna. She looked back at him. They were strangers who had met only minutes ago. They had no reason to trust each other. But they were human. And humans had never let that stop them before. When do we start? Do-hyun asked. The keeper's light pulsed with something that might have been joy. Now. One moment, Do-hyun was standing in the great chamber with Yuna beside him. The next moment, he was somewhere else entirely. Alone. He stood in a small room with metal walls. The air smelled like oil and sweat. He recognized this place immediately. His heart clenched with pain that it was the cargo ship where he had grown up. He was 16 again, small and thin and scared. And standing in front of him was his father, looking exactly as Do-hyun remembered him. Tired eyes, rough hands, a frown that never seemed to go away. "You will never be anything," his father said. The words cut like knives. "You are weak. You are useless. You think you can survive out there among the stars? You will die alone in the darkness, and no one will remember your name." Do-hyun felt the old pain rising in his chest. He had spent years running from these memories, years trying to prove his father wrong. And here they were again, as fresh as the day they had happened. "This is not real," he whispered. "It is real enough," his father sneered. "Everything I said was true. Look at you now, a salvager with a broken ship and no future. You found this fortress by luck, nothing more. You are not special. You are not worthy." The walls began to close in. The ceiling dropped lower. Do-hyun felt his breathing become shallow as the space shrank around him. But then he remembered something. He was not 16 anymore. He was 34. He had crossed the galaxy 100 times. He had faced pirates and storms and the empty void of space. His father had been wrong about everything. "No," Do-hyun said. His voice grew stronger. "You were wrong then, and you are wrong now. I am not weak. I survived. I kept going when everything told me to stop. That is what makes me strong." The walls stopped moving. His father's image flickered and began to fade. "You tried to break me," Do-hyun continued. "But I did not break. I bent. I struggled. I cried alone in the dark more times than I can count. But I never stopped. That is who I am. That is what I am." His father vanished like smoke in the wind. The room dissolved around him. And Do-hyun found himself back in the great chamber, breathing hard but standing tall. Yuna appeared beside him a moment later. Her face was pale and wet with tears. She did not speak about what she had seen, and Do-hyun did not ask. Some wounds were too personal to share. "You passed the first trial," the keeper said. Its voice was gentle now. "The trial of memory. It forces you to face the darkest moments of your past. Many species cannot do this. They are trapped in their regret and shame forever." "That was difficult," Yuna admitted. "It was supposed to be. The builders believed that anyone who could not make peace with their past could not be trusted with the future." The keeper's light shifted. "Are you ready for the second trial?" Do-hyun and Yuna looked at each other. Neither was ready, but they both nodded anyway. The chamber changed again. This time, they were transported together to a place that looked like the inside of a dying star. Fire surrounded them on all sides. The heat was intense, though somehow it did not burn them. Platforms floated in the chaos, connected by bridges that appeared and disappeared without pattern. "The trial of unity," the keeper's voice echoed around them. "You must reach the other side, but you cannot do it alone. You must work together, or you will both fail." The first platform they stood on began to crumble. "Move!" Do-hyun shouted. They jumped to the next platform together. But this one was smaller, barely big enough for one person. Yuna slipped, and Do-hyun caught her arm, pulling her close. "I have you," he said. A bridge appeared ahead of them, but it was too narrow for two people to walk side by side. Do-hyun looked at Yuna, and she understood immediately. She climbed onto his back, and he carried her across while the bridge swayed and cracked beneath his feet. They reached another platform. This one had a puzzle carved into its surface, symbols like the ones on the fortress doors. Do-hyun stared at them without understanding. "These are mathematical equations," Yuna said, her scientific mind working quickly. "Very advanced, but I can solve them. Give me time." "We do not have time." The platform was sinking into the fire below. "Then protect me while I work." Debris began falling from above, chunks of burning stone that would kill them if they hit. Do-hyun grabbed a piece of floating metal and used it as a shield, blocking each piece as it fell while Yuna worked on the puzzle. "Almost there," she muttered. "Almost, Yuna." "Got it." She pressed the final symbol, and a new bridge appeared. They ran across it together as the platform exploded behind them. The trial continued like this for what felt like hours. Every challenge required both of them. Do-hyun's strength and instincts, Yuna's knowledge and precision. Alone, either of them would have died a dozen times. Together, they kept surviving. Finally, they reached the other side. A door opened before them, and they stumbled through into a cool, quiet space. "You passed the second trial," the keeper said, appearing before them. The trial of unity. The builders knew that no individual, no matter how talented, could carry the flame alone. It must be shared. It must be passed from hand to hand. Do-hyun collapsed against a wall, exhausted. "How many more trials are there?" "One. But before you face it, there is something you must know." The keeper's light flickered, and suddenly the chamber filled with images. Ships in space. A fleet of vessels bearing the symbols of the Galactic Collective. Your discovery has not gone unnoticed. When you entered this fortress, a signal was sent across the galaxy. Many have heard it. Many are coming. Yuna's face went pale. The Collective knows we are here. They know something is here, and they are afraid. The keeper showed them a single ship leading the fleet. This one carries a human military commander. His name is Taiho. He has been ordered to secure this site. "Secure it," Do-hyun repeated. "You mean take control of it?" "Yes, and there is another." The image changed to show a tall, insect-like alien. This one is called Advisor Krell. He represents the non-human species of the Collective. He fears what you might gain from this place. He has already sent messages to the Council, warning them about the danger of humans inheriting the Builder's legacy. Yuna laughed bitterly. "Of course. We find the greatest treasure in the galaxy, and immediately everyone wants to take it from us." "They cannot take it," the keeper said. "The fortress will not permit non-humans to enter. Their technology fails within these walls. Only humans can walk here safely. Then what is the problem?" Do-hyun asked. "The problem is that some members of the council are discussing more extreme measures. If they cannot control what is inside this fortress, they may decide to destroy it instead. And everyone within." The weight of those words settled over Do-hyun and Yuna like a heavy blanket. "We need to finish the trials," Do-hyun said. "Now, before they arrive. The final trial cannot be rushed. It is the most important of all. It will determine not just whether you are worthy of the inheritance, but what you will do with it." The keeper's face grew serious. "Rest now. Prepare yourselves. The fleet will not arrive for several hours yet." Do-hyun wanted to argue, but his body would not let him. He was so tired that he could barely stand. Yuna was in the same condition. They found a corner of the chamber and sat down together. For a long moment, neither spoke. "I never thought it would be like this," Yuna finally said. "When I imagined finding proof of the architects, I thought it would be the greatest moment of my life. Instead, I am terrified. Fear is normal. What matters is what you do with it. Is that something your father taught you? Do-hyun shook his head. No, that is something I learned despite him. Outside the fortress, in the cold void of space, the collective fleet drew closer. Commander Taiha sat on his bridge, staring at the planet below and wondering what he would find there. Advisor Krell stood in the shadows, already planning ways to ensure that whatever power lay within that fortress would never belong to humanity alone. And deep in the heart of the ancient structure, two exhausted humans closed their eyes and rested. The final trial awaited them. The hardest test of all. They had no way of knowing that everything would change before the next sunrise. But they were human, and humans had a way of surviving things they should not survive. The flame that refused to die still burned within them. And soon, very soon, it would be tested like never before. There was no fire, no crumbling platforms, no memories of pain. Instead, he and Yuna found themselves standing in a garden. It was beautiful beyond words. Flowers of every color bloomed around them. Trees with silver leaves reached toward a sky that held two suns. Water flowed through streams so clear that Do-hyun could count every stone at the bottom. This is not a simulation, Yuna whispered. I can feel the breeze. I can smell the flowers. This is real. It is a memory, the keeper said, appearing beside them. A memory of the builder's homeworld. This is what they left behind when they departed the galaxy. This is what they hope to find again, somewhere beyond the stars. Do-hyun looked around at the paradise surrounding him. Why are you showing us this? Because you must understand what you are being offered, and what the cost might be. The garden dissolved around them. Suddenly, they were floating in space, watching something terrible unfold. A war. Ships of every design imaginable tore each other apart. Worlds burned. Stars exploded. And through it all, Do-hyun saw beings of immense power fighting without mercy or restraint. The builders at the height of their might turned against each other. This is what we became, the keeper said sadly. We had all the power in the universe. We could create anything, destroy anything, go anywhere. And in the end, it was not enough. We grew bored. We grew restless. We began to fight among ourselves simply because we had forgotten what peace felt like. The vision changed again. Now they saw the aftermath. Empty worlds. Silent cities. A galaxy in ruins. We nearly destroyed everything. Not through war with outside enemies, but through war with ourselves. That is when the survivors made their choice. They would leave. They would go beyond the edge of known space and seek new challenges. But they would not let their legacy be only destruction. The keeper turned to face them directly. The inheritance is everything we built. Technology that can reshape reality. Knowledge that took us millions of years to gather. Power that could make your species the greatest in the galaxy. Its face grew solemn, or the most dangerous. You want us to prove we will not become like you, Yuna said quietly. Yes, that is the final trial. Not a test of strength or intelligence or teamwork. A test of wisdom. A test of character. The keeper gestured, and suddenly they were standing in a vast chamber filled with light. Objects floated all around them. Weapons that could crack planets in half. Machines that could build entire fleets in hours. Devices that could extend life indefinitely. The accumulated treasures of a civilization that had mastered every secret of the universe. Take what you want, the keeper said. This is the inheritance. It is yours if you claim it. Do-hyun stared at the wonders surrounding him. He could feel the power radiating from each object. With these tools, humanity could become unstoppable. No one in the collective would ever threaten them again. No one in the galaxy would be able to stand against them. He reached toward a weapon that glowed with deadly beauty. Then he stopped. He thought about what the Keeper had shown them. The war, the destruction. A species with unlimited power that had nearly ended everything. "No," he said. Yuna looked at him sharply. "What do you mean, no?" "I mean, we cannot take all of this. Look at what happened to the builders. They had everything, and it destroyed them." Do-hyun lowered his hand. "If we take all this power at once, we will become just like them. But think of what we could do. We could protect humanity forever. We could advance our science by thousands of years. And then what? Once we have all this power, what will we do with it? Fight each other? Dominate the galaxy? Force everyone to bow before us?" Do-hyun shook his head. "That is not what makes humans special. That is not the flame the Keeper spoke of." Yuna was silent for a long moment. Do-hyun could see the conflict in her eyes. The scientist in her wanted everything. The knowledge, the discoveries, the chance to understand things no human had ever understood. But slowly, her expression changed. "You are right," she admitted. "I was so focused on what we could gain that I forgot to ask what we might lose." She looked at the treasures around them with new eyes. "If we take all of this, we stop being explorers. We stop being seekers. We become rulers. And rulers always end up fighting to keep their power." Do-hyun turned to the Keeper. "We will not take the weapons. We will not take the tools of war or domination. Give us only what we need to grow. Knowledge to guide us. Technology to help us explore. But let us earn the rest ourselves." The Keeper was silent for a long time. Its golden face showed no emotion. Then, slowly, it began to glow brighter than before. "In a million years, you are the first to make this choice. Other species wanted everything. Every single one. They came here hungry for power. They saw what we had built, and they wanted to possess it all. That is why they failed. Not because they were weak. Because they were greedy." The treasures around them began to fade. Most of them vanished into light. But some remained. Books of knowledge. Maps of the galaxy. Devices that could heal and build, but not destroy. "You have passed the final trial," the Keeper announced. "The trial of wisdom. You have proven that you understand what the builders learned too late. Power is not the goal. Power is the tool, and a tool is only as good as the hands that hold it." Yuna picked up one of the remaining books. As soon as she touched it, information flooded into her mind. Centuries of scientific knowledge, given to her in an instant. She gasped and nearly fell. Do-hyun caught her. "There is more," the Keeper said. "Because you chose wisely, I am giving you something beyond what you asked for." A map appeared in the air before them. It showed the entire galaxy, and scattered across it were hundreds of glowing points. "These are the other fortresses. The other vaults where the builders left their legacy. Each one contains different treasures, different knowledge, different trials." The Keeper smiled. "You have proven worthy of the journey. Now the journey truly begins." Do-hyun stared at the map in wonder. Hundreds of sites to explore. Lifetimes of discovery ahead of them. Then an alarm shattered the moment. "The fleet has arrived," the Keeper said, "and they are preparing to attack." Do-hyun ran to a window that appeared in the chamber wall. Outside, he could see ships filling the sky. Collective vessels of every size and type. And at the front, a battleship bearing military markings. "We need to get out of here," Yuna said. "There is no escape," the Keeper replied. "The fortress cannot fly while it is buried beneath the planet's surface. You would need to reach its heart and activate the full systems. Then let us do that. It is not that simple. The fortress will only fully activate for those who have completed all trials. And your trials are complete. but the threat remains. Outside, a voice boomed across all frequencies. "This is Commander Taiho of the Collective Third Fleet. Whoever is inside that structure, come out immediately. This is your only warning." And behind that voice, Do-hyun could hear another one, higher, hissing, speaking urgently. "Advisor Krell, do not give them a chance. If they have found architect technology, we cannot allow them to keep it. Destroy the site if necessary. Advisor, there are humans in there. Then they should have thought of that before they claimed what does not belong to them." Do-hyun clenched his fists. The galaxy had given humanity nothing. They had worked for everything they had. And now, when they had finally found something that was meant for them, others wanted to take it away. "Keeper," he said, "you said the fortress cannot fly while it is buried. But can it defend itself?" "Yes, but using its weapons would confirm every fear the Collective has about humanity. They would unite against you. They would hunt you forever. I do not want to use weapons. I want to talk." The Keeper tilted its head. "Talk? Open a channel. Let me speak to the fleet." A moment later, Do-hyun's voice echoed across space. "Commander Taiho, this is Park Do-hyun. I am a human citizen inside this fortress. I am not your enemy. I am asking for a chance to explain." Silence. Then Taiho's voice returned. "You have exactly 1 minute." Do-hyun took a deep breath. This fortress was built by the architects. It was left here as a test for any species that might find it. We found it. We faced the trials inside. And we passed them. Advisor Krell's voice cut in. "That proves nothing. Humans cannot be trusted with power of this magnitude. They are too young, too reckless, too dangerous." "You are right," Do-hyun said. "We are young. We are reckless. We make mistakes." He paused. "But we also chose not to take the weapons. We chose not to take the power that could have made us invincible. We chose to grow slowly, to earn our place rather than to conquer." Another pause. Then, quietly, Taiho spoke. "Is that true?" asked the Keeper. "It has watched every species that ever came here. It knows what we chose and why." The Keeper's voice joined the communication. "The human speaks the truth. In 1 million years of trials, they are the first species to refuse absolute power when it was offered to them freely. They are the first to understand that the inheritance is a journey, not a destination." Silence fell over the fleet. Do-hyun could feel the weight of the moment. Everything depended on what happened next. Then Commander Taiho made his choice. "All ships, stand down. Hold your positions. We are not firing today." "Commander!" Krell shrieked. "You cannot do this. The Council will. The Council put me in charge of this fleet." Dust and stone fell away from its surface as it climbed toward the sky. The structure was even larger than Do-hyun had imagined. It was a city, a mountain, a vessel that dwarfed every ship in the Collective Fleet combined. Its black walls gleamed in the light of the pale sun, and its engines burned with golden fire. On the bridge, which had appeared around Do-hyun and Yuna the moment the ship activated, they watched the fleet through massive windows. The collective ships scattered like frightened birds. Some captains panicked and opened fire. Their weapons hit the fortress's shields and vanished without effect. "Calm down." Commander Taiho's voice roared across all channels. "All ships, hold your fire. That is an order." Most of the fleet obeyed. But Advisor Krell's ship continued to fire. Beams of deadly energy splashed harmlessly against the ancient shields. "The human vessel must be destroyed," Krell screamed. "If they leave here with that technology, they will dominate the galaxy. We cannot allow it." More ships joined Krell's attack, but others did not. Do-hyun watched as the fleet split in two. Human vessels moved to one side. Non-human vessels moved to the other. In the middle, Commander Taiho's battleship hung alone. "This is Commander Taiho," he announced. "I am ordering all ships loyal to the Collective to cease fire. We are not at war with humanity. We are not at war with anyone." "You fool," Krell snarled. "You are betraying your own council." "I am doing what is right." Taiho's ship moved forward, placing itself between the fortress and the attacking vessels. Other human ships followed. They formed a wall of metal and courage, blocking the weapons that were still firing. "They are protecting us," Yuna said quietly. "They are protecting what we represent," Do-hyun replied. "The promise that humanity can be trusted. The hope that we are not what Krell fears." The fortress's engines powered up fully. Do-hyun could feel the vibration through the entire ship. They could leave now. They could escape into the stars and never look back. But that was not what he chose to do. "Keeper," he said, "open a channel to the entire fleet, everyone." The Keeper obeyed. Do-hyun's face appeared on every screen in every ship. "My name is Park Do-hyun. I am nobody special. I am a salvager who found something by luck and stubbornness. But what I found does not belong to me alone. It does not belong to humanity alone. It belongs to everyone." Krell's voice cut in. "Lies! You want power for yourselves." "If we wanted power, we would have taken the weapons. We would have taken every piece of technology in this fortress and used it to make ourselves invincible. But we did not. We chose to take only knowledge, only tools for growth and exploration. Because power is not the point." Do-hyun looked directly into the camera. "The architects left these fortresses for whoever was worthy enough to find them. We passed their trials. But the trials are not closed to others. Any species that is willing to face them honestly can pass too." He took a deep breath. "We are offering to share. Any member of the Collective who wants to attempt the trials can come with us. We will guide them. We will help them. And if they pass, the inheritance will be theirs as well." Silence filled the fleet. Then, slowly, Taiho's voice returned. "You would do that? You would share what you found? That is what the Builders wanted. That is what the Flame is about. It is not about one species winning and everyone else losing. It is about all of us pushing forward together." Do-hyun smiled. "The universe is bigger than any of us. There is room for everyone." On Krell's ship, the advisor's rage reached its peak. "I will not accept this. I will not let humans dictate terms to the Collective." His vessel fired its main weapon directly at Taiho's ship. Time seemed to slow down. Do-hyun did not think. He just acted. He reached out and touched the control panel in front of him, not knowing what it would do, only knowing that he had to do something. The fortress responded. A beam of golden light shot from the ancient vessel. It struck Krell's weapon fire in midair and absorbed it completely. Not destroyed, absorbed, taken into the fortress's shields, like water into a sponge. Then the light continued forward and wrapped around Krell's ship. Not attacking, just holding, freezing it in place. "Advisor Krell," the Keeper's voice boomed across all frequencies. "You have shown your true nature. You do not fear what humans might become. You fear that you are not worthy of what they have earned. And you are correct." Inside Krell's ship, the advisor saw something that no one else could see. The Keeper appeared before him, golden and ancient and terribly wise. "Your species came here once. Long ago, you failed the trials. Not because you lacked intelligence or strength, but because you could not imagine power that you did not control. You could not accept gifts that you had to share." Krell trembled. "That is ancient history. History is never ancient. It lives in every choice we make." The Keeper tilted its head. "But history can also change. The trials remain open. If you wish to prove yourself worthy, the path is there. The question is whether you have the courage to walk it. The light around Krell's ship faded. The vessel drifted free. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then Krell's voice returned, smaller now, uncertain. You would truly let us try, after everything I have done? That is what the flame teaches, Do-hyun replied. We do not give up on others just because they have made mistakes. We give them a chance to do better. Slowly, carefully, the collective fleet began to reform. The hostile ships rejoined the others. The weapons powered down, and Commander Taiho brought his battleship alongside the fortress. Well, he said, a hint of a smile in his voice. It seems we have a lot to discuss. 3 years later, the fortress, now named the Rising Dawn by its human crew, hung in orbit around the blue-green world near the galaxy's core. Beside it floated dozens of other ships from a dozen different species, scientists, explorers, seekers of truth. Inside the great chamber, the Keeper watched as a group of Varani completed their final trial. They had chosen wisely, just as the humans had. They would carry the flame forward. Do-hyun stood at the observation window, watching the celebration that followed. Yuna came to stand beside him. In the 3 years since they had found the fortress, they had become partners in every sense of the word. They had guided 11 species through the trials. 7 had passed. Each one had joined the growing fleet of seekers. Do you ever wonder what the builders would think of all this? Yuna asked. Sometimes. I think they would be proud. Proud of what? Do-hyun smiled. Proud that they were wrong. Wrong? They left because they thought they had nothing more to learn. They thought they had grown beyond the galaxy. But look at what we are building here. Species that were enemies working together. Knowledge being shared instead of hoarded. A future that no one species controls. He turned to face her. They thought they had reached the end of the journey. But there is no end. There is always more. That is what the flame teaches. Bora's voice came through the ship's speakers. Captain, long-range sensors have detected something interesting. What is it, Bora? A signal at the edge of the galaxy. It matches architect technology, but the patterns are different. Older. Much older. There was a pause. The Keeper believes this may be something the builders themselves were searching for. Something they never found. Do-hyun and Yuna looked at each other. Another mystery, she said. Another journey, he replied. They walked together to the bridge, where their crew was already preparing for departure. Species of all kinds worked side by side. Humans and Varani and Traken and others, united by a common purpose. Commander Taiho, now an ambassador for the growing alliance, appeared on the view screen. I heard you found something new. We always find something new. That is sort of our thing. Taiho laughed. Try not to start any wars while you are out there. No promises. The Rising Dawn's engines powered up. The fleet parted to let them through. And as they jumped into the darkness between stars, Do-hyun felt something he had not felt since he was a boy on his father's cargo ship. Not hope for himself. Not hope for humanity alone. But hope for everyone. Hope that the universe was bigger and more wonderful than anyone had ever imagined. Hope that the best was yet to come. Behind them, the galaxy continued to spin. Worlds rose and fell. Empires struggled for power. All the old games continued as they always had. But something had changed. A spark had been lit. A flame that had burned for millions of years had been passed to new hands. And those hands were reaching outward, upward, forward, into a future that even the builders could not have imagined. The flame that refused to die thought it burned brighter than ever, and it would never go out.